What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the BV Sports Show. Today, we have a very special guest of us today. Before we get into that, this is my co-host, Dom P. I'm DB. And behind me is a very, very dapperly dressed man, looking very fresh. Good afternoon, Joe. How are you today?
I'm doing all right, man. Shout out to you guys. How you lot doing?
Very well, very well. Very happy to be with you today, man.
Nah, thank you very much. I gave you my word, like I said. After Christmas, we're getting it done, man.
No,
We appreciate it.
much appreciated. Your presence is much appreciated.
Yes, man.
For some of you who don't know Joel is a co-founder of CheekySport. Honestly, on my feed, he's always working, consummate professional, always dressed sharp, and he's the biggest Arsenal fan on my feed. If Man United lose, I hear it, I see it, I feel it. And if Arsenal win, I really feel it. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, man. I can't lie. I'm the founder still, not co-founder.
So you're the founder.
Yeah, no, it's
Wrong
all
with
good.
me.
It's all
Founder.
good. It's all good. Like,
Number one.
It takes a team as well to get things moving. So, but yeah, I'm the official founder, and I worked with my friends to get it off the ground. So I would go to I started doing debate shows. Then I would go to games and figure out the nuts and bolts. And then I hired other presenters to actually start doing Cheeky Sport. Then I thought nah, this ain't working. So then I started working with my brethrens and David, Akeem, and I had other friends that were involved as well, Ryan, Nick, but they stopped doing it. But then us lot, we carried on, and then Jermaine as well, my boy, he's a manager actually of Stormzy's official manager at Murky Records.
Wow.
He was also involved in it, and we just got it going.
This is exactly what I'm here for. I'm here to hear the story, the
Literally.
journey, every little nuance, nook and cranny, obstacle that you had to cross just to get to be the man you are today. Because I know you envisioned it being this big and it can only get bigger. So it's very much a pleasure to talk about. Because Cheeky Sport is not a small platform. It's got 600k followers on TikTok, over 90k followers on YouTube. Like,
Bro, I'll be honest with you, the Cheeky Sport brand in terms of socials has not been active properly for a while, because the reality is we were shut down on bare platforms.
Wow.
Like for a while, whether it be, copyright issues or whatever, really like silly things. And back in the day when you would get strikes and you can't get your account back, like we've gone through it. I think the thing that's made it survive is just literally credibility. It's when you hear the name, what do you think of? And that's what people don't understand. If I hear your name, what do I think of? Do I think of hospitality? Do I think of service? Do I think of reliability? That is what is actually keeping that name running. Yeah, we've got 600k on TikTok and whatever, but that don't really mean nothing. We should actually be on the millions. But my servicing is actually based on what people know I offer, if I'm honest, because on socials, you're saying 90k on YouTube. We ain't posted on YouTube in ages. Like, we ain't done anything there for years. It's a dead channel now. But the name lives on. And when people hear your name, they go, yeah, you know what? I'll go check out what that platform has to offer. Yeah, I'll take digital strategy from those guys. So that's how it is. A lot of people see the trolling online, but they don't know that in real life it's serious things.
The work behind the scenes.
because
Yeah.
I definitely can understand what you mean by that, because I see you a lot on Vibe with Five with Rio, and I see you collaborating with the NFL, expanding your sport portfolio. And I think even though you're not active on Cheeky Sports, you're always active elsewhere and being a voice. And especially coming from a football background, now transitioning to like an NFL background, you're giving a newcomer insight into a sport which is not as popular in the UK. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, that one I have to give a massive shout out to Jamie from IP Agency. I mean, he was trying to get me to sign with him and stuff like that. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this person a chance, because there's all these other agencies that were really big. And at one point in the summer, they all really just wanted to talk with me or get me to come down and sign and everything. And then I was just thinking, but I need to make sure that I'm on it's like in the football pathway. You go, all right, who do I want? I want something that's good for my career development. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes when you make the wrong moves, you can go to I don't know, let's call it the Man Uniteds, but is it going to be good for your career move? Or is it better to go to Dortmund and, do you know what I mean? Where you might actually have a bit more people focusing on you. That's exactly what I've done with IP Agency currently as we speak. So credit to them for sourcing that. And they said, look, we've got the perfect person, and they brokered that deal. And obviously I had to sell myself as well as an individual. And the NFL season is actually pretty much over now. I don't know when this is being released, but as it stands right about now, yeah, it's
deep into the playoff.
It's deep into the playoffs.
Yeah.
There's one more game, and then after that, it's the Super Bowl final.
You see, when you say regarding the agency, do you want to explain to those that don't know, like, how does it work? So you're obviously getting approached by agencies. What do they want you to do? Because obviously, in terms of football, obviously you go to the best agent, I get you the best deals. Is it the same for someone like you, for example?
Yeah, that's literally it. I mean, for example, with this summer, I've always managed myself.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you've seen has been myself or who I've worked with. So no one's ever been my agent. Or there might have been someone who they're an external person where you're not signed to them, but they say, if I got a deal, I'll bring it to you. Cool, cool.
Yeah.
I haven't signed with an agency only because I've had one experience where I was signed for like 2 weeks and it wasn't a good experience at all. Like maybe 2 or 3 weeks. It was not a good experience. And then at the same time, I always say, away from the banter and the jokes and everything, we're like highly educated people. We know how to, conversate, communicate, negotiate, write, the whole lot of it when it comes to business. So that usually takes a lot of people back when they actually meet me or meet people that I know in the industry. They go, oh, okay, what you lot are not just, like, I don't really have time for foolishness, if I'm honest with you. Like, when it comes to it, it's serious stuff. So I've never needed an agent. We've got everything done. But then I got to the point where I thought, you know what, maybe I've hit a ceiling with what I can do capacity wise. Maybe I should actually lean on someone with their expertise, because if I'm not getting jobs or a particular job, then this ain't my number, but it could be anyone's number. What is 20% of nothing? It's nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas if you go out there and you get something, then you're laughing, right? And the person who gets it deserves it. Yeah,
100%.
So I just started looking at it that way, and I just thought I need to be selfish, where these people need to focus on me. I need to make sure that I'm the prime. I'm the person they're looking at when it comes to this particular area of football. And so far, good decision. We'll just see how it goes.
Definitely a good decision, seeing it. And I mentioned earlier about working with Vibe 5 and working with Rio. How did that come about? Tell us a bit about that journey and how it's going right now.
Well, I always tell this story, and I tell Rio this as well. Like I've said it many times, that when I first started CheekySport, the goal for me was to create a platform where I could express my opinions with the likes of Ian Wright and Rio Ferdinand. Those were the two names that I said. And a bit earlier on in the years, I had the chance to have Rio Wrighty on our podcast, and Rio as well, and stuff like that. So it was, we've had good people make things like that happen in the past. Roscoe really did that with Ian Wright for us, and Wright was like helping us a lot in the beginning of the CheekySport era, like really like a supportive figure back then. And Rio down the line, he had me in contact with Chris Gangasir, who's one of his agents, one of the directors in his company. So it's just to say that a lot of these relationships start with just being consistent. Sometimes I see you out. Do you know where I'm coming from? Like, you just see you out, and so it's easier down the line when someone says, "Do you want to come on the show?" Because you guys, Emerson and yourself, are the two that I know. I say, "Yeah, you know what? Yeah, like you make that time. You try to show that respect." And I think it was just a relationship building. Actually, if anything, Rio would get me to do stuff in the beginning, and I was actually doing okay in our creative space. So I don't even think I would charge, because I just remember thinking, like, what's the point? Like,
You'd rather build the
yeah,
connection and
what are you gonna
Don't
pay
charge.
me today? That, like, not in a bad way, but
Yeah.
it's just for what our rates were versus, it just didn't make sense. And I think, and all I did was I was genuinely just available. If he needed something or whatever, at least he knew that I was reliable. And I think that's where a lot of you find with people in today's world. Like, are you reliable? Can you have me in a room where you're gonna talk to me in a reliable way in front of other people? Am I gonna embarrass him? Am I gonna, how am I gonna represent his brand in a way? And I think after a while, I think he just kind of saw that, like, you know what, this guy's trustworthy. Like, you know, I don't really think he wasn't there like, yeah, your ball knowledge is so sick. I ain't played pro like that. So, and at the time, I just remember being mad nervous as well. Like, so nervous to the point where I would forget a player's name. But credit to him, like, for persisting, because he knew that there was something in there, and he gave me the time to grow. Because if you had seen me in the first few weeks, you would have said, get this guy off. Like, he will never be able to make this 5-channel a success. What Rio Presents now. Like, wouldn't have been able to make Rio Presents a success. And now I go in on a Monday morning and I'm buzzing. Like, when I read the scripts from George and I look and I go, okay, what we doing today? Okay, cool. Who we got? You know, like today I sat down with Sol Campbell and Rio. Like, are you mad?
That's crazy.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
that's a
don't get me
crazy
wrong,
partnership.
there's a lot of like current players and I get to do work with current players, you know, across the world. But for me as a kid, the Joel, the child,
Yeah.
these are the 2 OGs right here, man.
You know, they are growing up, especially.
Yeah.
So that was a very, very good call introduction. We're gonna now throw it back now to your early life. So we'd just like to know, like, can you tell us about your early life? Like,
Yeah,
so who's Joel basically?
I'm from the Congo. Originally from the Congo.
Fali.
My dad has always been like a hard worker. Like, where I get a lot of my persistence from hard work. I remember being 3 years old. I remember from when I was 3 years old. I remember being 3 years old, living in France, and you know, my dad having difficulties. My dad was what you call a first-class student in the Congo, like masters, the whole lot. Very intelligent academically, and being in France, and people wouldn't give him an opportunity because he was black. You know, despite his French being A-star, despite everything, nah. And I remember seeing that even as a 3-4-year-old, 3-4-5-year-old, I remember seeing things like that, like being rejected, and my dad carried on, you know, and moving from France to moving to England when I was 4 years old, you know, coming over with my mum, you know, just the story that a lot of us have.
Yeah.
You know, just I remember, I don't know if you guys have seen the story Pursuit of Happiness
With Will Smith.
with Will Smith, you know, where they're sleeping in like some mad places.
Yeah.
That was us.
Wow.
Like, so that's why it's one of my favorite films. You know what I mean? So, and then I remember being in this country and living in places like New Addington and people smashing things at my dad's car, breaking his window. But, you know, you can't really say much because they're the white kids. So you come out and you trouble, then the whole area wants to fight you. I remember people fighting me at the age of 5. I remember being 5 years old and just racist kids just racist, innit?
Yeah.
So they want to just. So I remember a lot of that in my early age. I'm not trying to make it seem like it was like. Besides that, I lived in life was good because I lived with my mum and dad. So I don't really think I struggled that much, especially when I got to the age of like 6-7 years old. Like, we discovered car boot sales, bro.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't like talking about it, but I just keep it real. Like, I remember discovering car boot sale and I never lacked anything again. Because to me, I didn't care whether it was second hand or first hand or third hand or fourth hand. That's where I got my Nintendo, bruv. 25 quid. Do you know what I'm saying?
bargain.
Like, what? Mad thing. Or it was either that or the Sega Mega Drive. I got that, and
That's a bit before my
you know, like, yeah, I'm a big man still.
Yeah.
So that's what I remember. And I remember things like that, walking to church far, you know, like
30-minute bop and stuff.
easily, you know what I mean? Like up them little
hills.
hills and stuff like that. And, you know, just being happy. But even though it was dangerous, like I said, those times and there was racism, I still remember, you know, my auntie who was living with us, you know, like sometimes you'll have a family member that lives with you or whatever.
No, I guess, yeah.
I had an auntie, she was, at the time I was like 6, she was 12. We would walk, she would take us to the park, she would take us to church, or if it's not with my mum or my little baby sister at the time, she was a baby, my sister. So, you know, like, I just lived that life. I can only remember the Congolese community. I can remember, you know, like growing up a little bit further, moving, playing football and being really good at it, you know, from a young age, you know, like mostly because I was like practicing and just, yeah, man, just making sure that I didn't really get in a lot of trouble because my dad was strict, you know, and I thank him for that because now when I look at things and I look at people and how people talk to people and everything, it comes from having a good background. And don't get me wrong, like, we can all stand up for ourselves. You don't need to be, you know, we can all stand up for ourselves, but a lot of it comes from a place of being able to knowing when to speak properly, how to address people properly. And all of that comes from how I was raised.
That's brilliant. I love it. Honestly, hearing that makes me understand the type of person you are even more, because when you said you see me out sometimes, I'm probably at work or whatever,
Yeah.
and you take your time out just to give me your 2 pence on what I'm doing, and it's so appreciative. Like, I feel like I have someone in my corner who's just like watching, who's done this, who's practiced this, and I have a blueprint to look forward to and look up to. So I really appreciate those conversations as well.
No, it's I think it's important because I wish I had that more.
Mm.
And so people are so focused on their journey, or trying to not look too cool or uncool or whatever it is. It's just like, let's just be human beings first, where and when we can.
Just be normal.
Yeah, honestly.
So how did football shape your upbringing?
I just wanted to be a footballer. Like, I'll be honest with you, like, the furthest I got, I think I was decent at a point. I always think maybe if I was outside of London, I would have had, people say more opportunity, but I think when I got to the ages of 14, 15, 16, if my parents were willing to take me outside of London, London was crammed with competition.
It was peak.
I think it probably would have been a better chance. I think you just have to, sometimes you also have to land in the right place. I didn't last long at Millwall, at Charles Dare. That was probably the highest, besides playing for like Borough, being in Surrey squads. Like, I didn't crack the academy level, if I'm honest. And you asked me today, and I could swear to you that I could. And I still believe I could have. But at the same time, I wasn't good enough. No matter how much we tell people that we were ballers and stuff, at the time, the particular time that I was there, wasn't good enough, whether I needed time or not. So, and I look back at that, but that's why I thank God a lot, because I don't hide my faith. I am a Christian, and I make it very clear that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for God. And I think God has a way of going, look, maybe football wasn't your thing. Who knows where I would be if I was a footballer and 21, I had money. But today, as I stand, I think, wow, you gave me something that you thought was even better. So thank you.
No.
But what made you chase this career in the sports media industry? Why not become an electrician or plumber? Why did you choose this specific field?
For the love of football. I loved playing more than anything. I loved watching when I was younger. Like, I was at that stage where, when football's your life, you know players from A to Z, probably even more than I know players now, because it's all I was doing. Like, you wake up, you ain't got no work, you ain't got no responsibility. All you got is Championship Manager
Yeah.
and FIFA. That's all I've got. The whole
Them highlights on the Italy League on Channel 5.
bro, the Serie A, the Golazio.
That's it, yeah, Golazio.
Like, that's all I'm watching. And you have no choice but to watch and rewatch things, because you don't have as much options.
Match of the day, Saturday.
So when match of the day, I'm not missing that. Or I'm taking my dad to the pub with me to watch certain games, just because I got to watch the game.
Shit.
So, I feel like God kind of just honored that
Commitment.
And said, don't worry, I got something for you in the future. And I've had the chance to like work with like a lot of my favorite players. It's good.
And I respect it still.
But I was in pharma prior to this, though. Pharmaceutical.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I can't lie. It's not that I didn't like my job and I needed to get out. Nothing like that. I had a really good job. I really enjoyed it. I actually recommend people to look into the pharmaceutical industry. I was working as a business analyst / business admin when it came to like CRM systems. So that was my thing, if I'm honest with you. It was sick. Like, I don't even think it was rubbish. It was sick. I worked for Almirall, which is a Spanish company, and AstraZeneca as well.
Wow.
The jab lot. And,
I didn't get the jab though.
yeah. Yeah, but I just knew that I loved football. So that's why I just went for it. And I always tell people I was working as if someone was chasing me.
Wow.
People work as if they're not being chased.
That's when you're too comfortable, innit?
I work as if someone's chasing. I didn't even know what I was chasing. I was just working as if I was being chased.
I was gonna ask, in terms of having Cheeky Sport and even working with Rio, when did you feel like you made that breakthrough, that time where you're like, I am an established name in this thing? Because you've had such a long journey, even working in pharmaceuticals and even playing football yourself. When did you say, in this sports media thing, I'm established?
I'll be honest with you, as mad as it sounds, I do think I'm established in the sense where I've been here for a long time. But it's hard. Sometimes I go, am I established? Because there's so much things to do, people, things you're involved in. I don't really sit there and think, am I established? I usually think more like, what can I command fee wise, or you know, I don't know. Like I know I'm there to an extent with what I do, but there's just so much more to achieve. So I'll give you the perfect example. If you look at the interviews Rio's doing, like he is sitting with, Kingsley Coleman, David Beckham,
Jose Mourinho.
Jose Mourinho. And I've had the chance to share a lot of the time with him and the guests and stuff like that. But he's doing that purely having long form conversations and doing stuff, and a lot regularly.
Yeah.
I've done some stuff with Madrid players, PSG stuff coming out soon, and like I've done stuff, but I just feel like, there's a lot to do,
A lot.
So I don't have that time to be like, yeah, man, like what? And that's the thing, when you're working with certain people or you see certain people, it's brilliant because you don't have the time to fantasize.
I understand.
You ain't got the time to do that.
Well, yeah. I thought you were gonna say at one point, but now like it's even changed my mind because it's come to reality that like sitting in front of someone like you, I can never say I make it. I've made it, because by the time I hopefully get to a position that you are at, you will be somewhere else. So I'll have someone else to look up to say. And likewise with Don P himself, Jeff, he'll probably be thinking the same thing.
It's a motivation to keep going.
Yeah, that was.
Because whenever I see him like on my Insta feed, I'm like, yeah, man, I respect it. It just gives you some sort of like boost, like to do good for yourself, and like, cool, he can do it. Back yourself. Obviously, you can also be a mentor. If you need help, you can definitely reach out to him, message him, and that's what we need as well. To be fair, like
I said in the beginning, biggest Arsenal fan on my feed. Yeah, you work with Arsenal now yourself. Like, how does that feel watching the Invincibles, watching Arsenal be great, and now yourself, you're going in the stadium and working with the players, you're doing all sorts of content with Arsenal. Tell us about that, please.
It's just two double-edged sword, because it jars me on some days when we're not winning. But then at the same time, that's the fan in me during the week. It was like, you should have scored. But then when it comes time to going into the training ground, it's always like you're going to go see the professor. I can't explain it. It's like you're going to the head office. If you're not working in the head office, but you're going into the head office, it's like, right, today we're going to have our smart wear on. We're going to have fresh trim. We're going to have to make sure that we've gone gym a little bit so that when you're wearing the Arsenal gear, you fit in with the players. You can't look like you ain't an athlete.
You ain't got a little arm fold and that.
Oh, bro, check all my clips, bro. I look like I'm one of the players, bro.
Yeah, I see it still. Don't Declan Rice and Saliba.
I don't look like I'm out of place. No way. I'm just smaller than a lot of them. But besides that, because the reality is you have to match the brand, innit?
Yeah.
And obviously the Arsenal brand, whether people like it or not, it's a big brand. Like United and Arsenal are the biggest club. Yeah, Liverpool got trophies, but bruv, that brand, especially in
the brand is
UK, like online and everything,
it's crazy.
You have to make sure. And sometimes I forget that I'm in a blessed position where I get to work with these players often and stuff. But yeah, it's like going into school, man. First day of school, every time, no gas, like every time.
Yeah, that's proper. How did your idea of like CheekySport like come to life? Like, was you just at work? How did it just?
No, it was during. I just remember the BlackBerry BB had finished, and this was just like after I finished uni and I started working.
2015?
Nah, earlier than that, like 2014, 2012. Yeah. 2012.
Olympic times.
Yeah, I remember that year in the Olympics, though. I always say, I stayed home that summer because I had no money. And I was just applying for jobs. My job was applying for jobs. And people feel like they work hard. No, I applied 9 to 5 for months. I might have to take a little break to go get a little temp job because the money was low. I didn't sign on. I'm not saying I should have signed on when I look now because I was looking, but I didn't. And I was just working. I was at home 9 to 5 looking for work. And it wasn't until the end of 2012, November, that I had secured the first stage of my interview for my pharmaceutical work. So I think I was looking for work since like May.
Wow.
Or maybe March. I can't remember, bro. It was
4 or 5 months of straight.
Yeah.
Looking at
like I'm talking about every day. It's not like Every day 9 to 5. That was my schedule.
No weekends
So-
off.
No weekends off.
Okay.
Monday to Friday.
Mm.
Like, and I had interviews that I didn't get, but I'd never let the no's tear me down, because I said to myself that, look, if someone can say no 99 times, the one time they say yes, it leads you onto something, then it leads you onto this job.
Facts.
Then now look what I'm doing. So imagine someone laughing at me for all the rejections that I got back then. Joke's on you.
I was gonna ask about how you see with with content, your thing looks so polished and so like professional. Looks like there's not a hair wrong half the time. Everything is perfect, but people don't understand the struggles that goes into making these things come out the way they come out, and especially when you were progressing to becoming a sports media professional. What the challenge you face balancing it, and then what challenge you face even making the content so polished?
I just think it's you have to set the standards, innit? Like when I look at my content, for example, I I look at my Instagram page. I'm gonna alter it, but I look at my Instagram page as my CV, and maybe that's why sometimes it doesn't grow as much as it should do, and I'm gonna have to change my strategy. But for what I need it to serve purpose for, it does really well. It's a CV for companies or whoever I'm freelancing for, or doing contractual work, whatever, and saying, this is me, this is what I do. I'm the person you can trust next to high echelon celebrities or players. That's what it screams. If you look at the three
Definitely.
pinned, it's not just, hey, look at me, I'm standing next to this person. No, it'll be me and Haaland, then you'll swipe across and it'll be the Haaland interview, then you'll swipe across again and it will be me and Haaland having a conversation. That's what you'll see right now if you got my thingy. Then you'll look at the other picture, it'll be me at the Arsenal players, you'll swipe across, then it's me directing the Arsenal players that you can't see behind the scenes. And then you'll have something else and it'll be me with Tony Cruz and taking pictures, and then you swipe across and it's me and Tony doing what we're doing, chatting. If I'm someone who's looking to say, is this guy gonna do a madness and jump out? No, of course he won't, because he has a relationship with these players. And that is the aim of why I post. People post and they don't actually know why they post. That's why I post. But in order to make that happen, you need to select the right bits. You need to make sure that you're sizing. What are we doing here? I'm a 1080 by 1350 guy because I know that when I swipe across, everything got to be rectangular. Don't give me landscape. Landscape only makes my feed if it's a massive exception. Example, the interview that I've done with Bukayo Saka, the advert I did with Bukayo Saka and Trossard, and Gio. That was landscape because I didn't think that shot would work otherwise. But everything else has to be either real format, and the reels a lot of them are edited by myself. So I edit them on Final Cut. I make sure that everything's right. There's no jumpy little bits. There's either it's going to be 59 seconds, whatever it has to be, or if it's more than that, you're going to have the good swipe acrosses. It takes me hours just to do that sometimes. But after this, I got to go home and look back and think about the Sol Campbell clips and wonder, is it going to make my feed? Is it, what do I want? It's got to go up.
I just want to say to anyone doing content, including myself, including Jeff, the meticulous nature that you just heard him illustrate and exhibit. That's what we need to do.
You better scrap those. I'm gonna post that. I'm gonna post this myself.
That was a small masterclass into how your feed should look. If you want to go do your homework, whether you do comedy, whether you do sports, whether you even cook with Kaya, this is the man you need to go to case ring.
Taking pictures, and some of them are squared. Some of them, they've just because a company's done the design, they think, yeah, can you put this on your feed? Most times I say no.
Wow.
Because it doesn't fit with what it is that I'm trying to do.
You know your wife.
You can ask Emerson. Sometimes I'll do clips, and I'm not a person. I don't take things to heart. I'll say, here's an invitation. I'll only invite. When you do the partnership thing with someone else,
Your collaboration.
Yeah. I'll only do that if I think that it can even fit the other person's IG. Otherwise, there's no point. Like, I do the same with Irvin, or we sit there from 360 TV, good friends of ours, and we think he has a particular way he does what he's doing, and so you have to like really try to make sure that you've got it right, because the reality is I don't have one of those feeds where I just post and it's a skit and people are like just laughing and commenting. People either want to see the work that I'm doing, or they want to see a moment, a BTS moment that they can't find somewhere else.
Behind the scenes. Obviously, you've worked with like some huge names like Rio, Bell, Nike. Like, what's been your most memorable project like?
Probably still something that I did with David Alorca, and Akeem was involved in it as well. Akeem Madrika was involved as well. But shout out to Kerry. We did something for Nike actually, and Richard Frost as well. We they had us host. Must have been like 2016. Like they had us host something where we were able to introduce the England players to fans, and I think it's the sickest thing. One of the sickest things
For the Euros, I think.
for the Euros, because we shut down Oxford Street. So there were some kids that were involved in a Nike competition, and they felt sick. They won something. So then we went to collect them in their estates, in the England coaches, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
We roll up, and then they come up on a coach, and they're like, yes, they won the competition. They think, you know, that's the day I even met my boy Dario. Shout out to Dario. Like sick. They think they've won something. And then next thing you know, they drive them to some Nike store, not the official Nike store, but some store or hotel. And then they're just grabbing the gear, and we're there like, yeah, grabbing the gear. And then they get back on the coach, and then the England players come on the coach as well with them.
Their faces.
Wayne Rooney, Raheem Sterling, Jack Wilshere. I can't remember who else. John Stones.
Gary Cahill was there, I think.
I can't remember.
Joe
I'm not saying he
Hart.
wasn't.
Joe Hart.
Maybe. Like there was a few, but I just remember like, and then just seeing their faces. And you got to remember, I'd been doing Cheeky Sport for like 2 years. So I'm on Snap, and all my brethren are watching me on Snap like, what? What's going on? You know, and I just remember it was sick for us, but it was so good for the kids. So then you can imagine we're on this England coach with these players just before they're about to go to the Euros. Then we get to a traffic light, and we had to get government permission to be able to change the traffic lights in a particular way.
That's mad.
So it just went red. And it went red in the middle of the street. And the next thing you know, the England players had to come out, and we all came out. Can you imagine the whole street just shh? It was like being in a 98 advert.
I was gonna say that must be like a mad ad.
And then they did some shot where they had all the players walking in a line, and they got an image of this in the Nike offices. Like I see, and I just think, and then we hosted the show as well, and yeah, I think that was a good moment.
Honestly, I don't think I've seen an advert. First thing I'm going to do when I leave here is go look for it.
No, yeah, man, they didn't do it as an advert. You know, they did it as a campaign, but they didn't even do it as like Nike are about experiences. How can we give the best experience? The video is there somewhere in their internal files. Mad.
I don't know if Nike will ever see this. I'm sure they'll see this because it's going to be connected to you. Nike, release the footage, because
I'm even wearing Nike to represent as well.
That's going to give the estates hope. People who, brother, I grew up wearing Nike, so I would love to see that. You know, I'm a big Rooney fan as well. So, but sorry, I got carried away there. I was going to say, with watching football itself evolve and watching sports media evolve, how have you cultivated your brand and you yourself and everything around to make sure that it's so seamless? Because I've said this more than once, like, I can't see a fault in what you do.
No, but we all have moments where we go away and we try to reinvent ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important. You have to be looking to reinvent yourself every 2-3 years. And sometimes it might take longer, but I'm at a point now where I need to reinvent myself in certain areas in front of the camera, which is fine. You know, like I think this year I've done TalkSport. I've gone back to doing Arsenal. There's a few other conversations I'm having that I can't really say that I'm doing. Obviously, I'm doing good in the podcast space on Rio Presents, but I think and I've actually got another podcast actually that I do with Give Me Sport and Ben Jacobs and Olivia Bizarglo, which has just started. So I'm hoping that does good. We have good guests on, like Fabrizio Romano, David Ornstein's supposed to be coming on. We have a lot of different players as well. So it's I was actually at an award show yesterday, Football Writers Awards show, which I'm also part of. So shout out to the FWAs. And I was sitting down with Ben Jacobs, and we were just talking about how we could make this better. And we're going back and forth, throwing ideas. And it's again, these are shifts. I said, Ben, we need to get into the studio. Ben, it needs to be shorter. This is how we need to start doing with, the socials. This is what we need to do. Da, 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 da. And again, you can feel that you're reinventing yourself and working on a product, and I know that I need to go back out and do more shoot days that are outside of a studio, so because you look at where things are going, you got to look at your own numbers and go, okay, cool. You know what? I haven't grown on socials for a minute now. I'm very stagnant. Actually go back and make this as focus again, because the reality is there's power in your numbers, whether people like it or not. So, I told you how I see myself on Instagram, but I need to maybe change it a little bit to either create higher numbers or create more engaging content that you can't find anywhere else. So I just need to have a little think about that and then invest the time and money and then do it.
Don't be, I'm sure you have something to say.
Oh, and I was gonna say, see me, I'm a United fan. Obviously, you're an Arsenal fan. So how was it like starting working with Rio? How was it like?
But remember, Rio's a hero to all of our generation.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. When I told you, I said, I want to create a platform where the likes of Ian Wright and Rio Ferdinand can hear me. Why? Is because when you saw them people, to me at the time, they were the first representations of people that I could relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And then you included an Andy Cole and Dwight York, but they weren't really media people like that. But it was easy to say Ian Wright and Rio, because Rio was always ahead of the curve when it came to creating YouTube. Or it's easy when you think you can see a man and banter and whatever it is, but when you actually deep it, and maybe you're getting the vibe, like we see each other all the time, but when you deep it and you sit down and you go, oh, this ain't no joke.
Yeah.
Like what these
It's
people
serious.
do is it's a serious thing. They're not on some, and Rio's always been like that, and he's from when he first retired and he was doing the interviews with Henri, and I just remember looking, thinking, wow, this is incredible. And he kept that coolness about him as well, where, you can relate. Righty always felt like he was being himself. So that's why I talk about these people like that, not to just attach to the name or but it's more to do with I'm not going to lie, these were the first representations. And I feel like people maybe feel the same about the younger generation, probably feel the same about Michael Richards or Darren Bent or, people that they can really see, they can connect with. I'm talking about young black people.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, or it might be the YouTubers, you're looking at so many good YouTubers out there.
Culture Cams, Hurry.
No, definitely. A generation of people who not necessarily had a pathway through the game, but have made the pathway through the internet and now connecting the game and the internet.
There's so many good people. I wouldn't even want to name anyone else because I think everyone's incredible. But I just think Culture Cams is in a lane of his own,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, I think he's in a lane of his own.
That picture of Jose's peak at Wembley.
Mate, I've got a picture of him and Onana from when we did some work at Arsenal a couple of weeks ago. The funny thing is I should have posted it because he made a post about Onana, but I should have reshared it and said, Cam's his guy. I missed the opportunity. I should have done it.
That's a touchy subject, by the way. I'm just saying.
Biscuit risks.
I can't talk about Onana.
What was it? Flipping. My man just, what's going on with him, man? We need to, do you know what we need to do? We need to check his bank balance. Because this is the day after he literally just passed the ball back out to a Brighton player. Literally gave it back to him. After catching it, he said, here you go, you can have it. And I just really think, being in the game now and I understand how money flows, we need to do an investigation, an audit on Andre Onana's bank account.
This is the man you need to look at. This is the man. This is black.
No, but it needs to be done as well. We need to monitor what's going in and out in the next 72 days. If there's anything that looks ridiculous, man think they can banter me all day long because they hear it online. They think they can talk back online. Oh, mate, he's talking. When we're really here now, we have to look at the facts.
What's the facts?
Because my man had wrist surgery in Turkey, bruv. Because I don't know what's going on over there, bruv. Madness.
Defend him.
Everyone
Well,
thinks they
I
can
did-
defend themselves, but then when you're looking at where it is,
Do you know what it is?
and you're 13th, yeah, and man are really out here trying to ban.
No. Do you know what it is?
Remember when we grew up and you had mega clubs?
Yeah.
Bayern Munich. You looked at AC Milan. You looked at Barcelona, Real Madrid.
Time to ride up for
Manchester United
We're on that level.
were one of the biggest. Some might say the biggest. I think they were always behind Real Madrid, but maybe the biggest.
Definitely, yeah.
Mhm.
And now you're looking and it's sad at the club. Like, man, we can do the hee ha ha, but bro,
I think it's just the club in general, since Fergie's left. Even if we sign the bandkeeper, Mario Neuer, Courtois, they'll be the same as Onana. No one will be better. It's just the club.
Whoa.
It's the no. I've been saying this. It's the club itself. No matter who comes in right now,
it's the club
It's not-
itself, but talent has been your biggest issue. Talent ID.
but we've signed top players.
Yeah, no,
Di
you haven't
Maria.
signed top, no, you haven't signed top players.
Who was Di Maria?
No, Di Maria, he came in, first of all, was he a
Yeah.
good fit for you? Because don't forget, Sir Alex wouldn't just sign anyone under the sun,
Mm-hmm.
Everyone signed had to be a specific. That's one of the reasons why Juan Sebastian Veron didn't work very well.
Yeah.
Top player, but was he a good fit when you lot were trying to play in a particular way and you had Scholes there and him?
He didn't
He's
fit.
never gonna
He
be
wasn't a
good
guy
fit.
for a midfield 2. He was a guy for
Yeah.
a midfield
And I think you lot just started buying players. All of a sudden, okay, yeah, him. Oh, yeah, let's buy him. I remember
Pogba.
when you bought Mata. And I remember thinking top class player for Chelsea. And I was a bit scared when I heard him, he came in the jet. But then when you really look back at it, you
First game against Cardiff.
so you look and you go, so you got one Mata, you had Fellaini, and you had, who else in that?
We had Sanchez at that point as well.
Like, where do these players fit in?
With
each other?
Schweinsteiger as well.
Schweinsteiger, who was collecting grey hairs and a big bag at the same time. Like,
Schneiderlin.
you go, bro, what's going on?
As I said, it's the club, man. No matter who comes in, it's just
No, but now we are at a point where footballing decisions are being made by footballing people. At
Yeah.
that point, it wasn't footballing decisions being made by footballing people. And we're in a bad spell. We're in the worst spell we've been in the past decade. And it hurts to see.
Amarim said it the other day
Yeah.
himself. This is the worst Man United team ever.
and it is.
Yeah. But I think, as
13th.
sad as it sounds, the word I want to look at is kind of refreshing because we're not sugarcoating, painting, and lying to
Can't.
ourselves.
You
Yeah.
can't.
I mean, I'm not fussed, but
You've
in
been doing
May,
that for a long time.
Yeah.
But now you can't because you're 13th. Because all season.
Why are you saying it
you've
like
been-
that, though?
Because you are. Because you've been 12th, 13th, 14th.
that's fine. But in
Those are
May,
the average. No, it's not fine. Because it's Manchester United.
no,
You've
for
been
this
12
season, it's fine. Though.
No, it's not. It's
Because
never fine.
Come May, we're gonna have the last laugh.
No, there's no laughs.
There is,
No, what-
and I'll give you an honors gloves as well as a gift when we win the Europa League. I'll give you an honors
It's not a
gloves
last laugh.
as a
because
gift.
If there was last laughs, then Eric Ten Hag would still be here for winning back-to-back trophies.
But I was
He's
just
not there.
papering over the
You know why?
cracks.
Exactly, because then there's no last laugh.
No, but now we've got a proper gaffer with ideas, football heads upstairs. Everything's gonna be good.
I think the last laugh
Got rid
is
of someone.
What do you mean?
Eric Ten Hag.
Ten Hag.
No.
Dan Ashworth.
Ashworth.
Yeah, that's because he wanted to turn it into.
He wanted certain managers
I don't know if I can say
in our
this.
club that I particularly did not want.
What, Southgate?
He wanted Southgate. I didn't want Southgate. I was happy with the appointment of Amarin. But I understand that Amarin is someone who's not willing to sacrifice his style of football and discipline.
Ask
for-
Ange Postecoglou where that's got him.
Yeah,
But
that's
Arsenal-
Tottenham, innit? That's Tottenham.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair point.
And where is
Is it not
Tottenham?
like Tottenham are battling
No, where are they?
that
Well,
10th-ish?
what's the
No,
expectations though?
no, they're 14th. Where are Man United?
13th.
Sounds the same to me. All right.
Okay. All right, cool.
Like
So,
I said,
Emerson.
in May,
These men will go online and they'll say, "Oh, these men don't know." But I don't claim to be. I'll give it up to Bear Man. But the reality is, when we're in the same room and we're talking football facts,
yeah.
facts.
Yeah,
I'm
my
not
fact
like-
is, come May, we're gonna have the last laugh. That's
this is...
And
No,
again,
but this
wait.
is the problem. What is
last
your
laugh do you
expectation?
have?
What is the last
What's
laugh?
the last
Manchester
laugh? This season.
United-
I'm not even trying to gang up on
Manchester
Sheraton.
United should
Yeah.
not be in the position that they are as a football club.
That's a fact.
You are the biggest club in the country, bruv.
I hear it.
Like-
At the
No,
moment,
no,
it's
no,
honest of us.
You need to hear an action because right about now, right?
The action is gonna come next season.
Look.
That's why I'm not even phased about this year. It's voided.
Of course, you have no choice but to void it. Don't act like
No,
don't act
not
like you have a
choice.
choice. Like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to decide to void it. You're
No, we have
13.
to because we have to get rid of all the bad eggs.
And who are the bad eggs?
Bruno, Maguire, Rashford.
So Bruno's a bad egg, yeah?
When I mean bad
That
egg,
wasn't me, by the way.
when I mean bad egg, people that we need to sacrifice. Rashford, Garnacho, Bruno, Maguire. I'm even saying Martinez as well. Lisandro Martinez. I'm putting him in there. There's a lot of big names that we need to sacrifice out the window.
I think you're even missing the key ones. I don't even think they're like the big. I think you clearly you have a relationship with Marcus Rashford.
I said Rashford.
He said Rashford.
He said
Yeah, Rashford and Garnacho.
He's on Rashford.
Eriksen,
Yeah,
they're not leaving already though. People like Eriksen and Casemiro.
Lazio and so.
Oh, he needs to go.
Yeah, but them lot, you see people like Eriksen, Casemiro, etc. They're leaving end of the season because that's where the contract's up. Anyways,
Yeah.
so I'm not even counting them. I'm talking the mainstays like the Rashford, the Garnachos, Bruno, Maguire, Lisandro Martinez.
With a lot of heavy influence on the
Au revoir.
Who's
That's
got heavy influence?
Rashford's got.
Yeah. But he's gone already, innit?
Yeah, he's gone.
just the au revoir, innit?
You see, with my perspective of Man United is, I try to be a fan first, innit? Because at the end of the day, I'm going to support them.
He said it as if sometimes he's a player.
Wait, because some people are a fan and they only have negative things to say. Are you a fan? You have to support, not blindly, but with goggles of reality and goggles of passion.
That's why I avoided this season.
Yeah, but avoiding the season isn't. It's like, oh, you can't. I'm not drawing you out. Sometimes you come on the show, you're like,
It's all right, you can draw me your show.
yeah. Sometimes you come on the show, you're just a bit of a huff and a puff.
Yeah, but I probably went to the game and they've lost. That's just natural. That's just my feelings.
Long trip up the M6, you know.
Yeah, I'm
Petrol, and on top of that, you ain't scoring no points for doing that either. Just saying.
But man needs the fun night out, so maybe you can make it up with Manny being a fun night out. What? You have to look on the bright side.
And on top of that, Sir Jim's raised the ticket prices as well. Fuming.
can't relate.
I'm not making no tricks for this season. I know that, but I'll watch and support.
Wait, what did you say? You can't relate.
You're saying a lot
You
about.
have a box there, innit?
I don't have a box. I'm often in the box, but I don't have a box there.
Okay.
No.
But you've been talking a lot about our club. What about your club? What are your club doing?
For example, go on, finish.
Because like,
Good enough, is it? I think if we're being honest, it's
Done.
not been good enough. I think we've been nearly men in it for the last 2-3 years, and the reality is no one's really going to take us as seriously as we want until we win the Premier League. And if you don't win the Premier League, the issue is as well is you got top class players who could be looking, they could be going, do I really want to stay here and risk it? The likes of the Salibas, and one day when Odegaard starts reaching a certain point in his contract, he goes, Saka's, you go, people start asking questions, especially when you look at Trent. I think Trent's a good player on the ball.
Yeah.
I think there's better players as well that could have their heads turned.
Thank you.
And demand more. So especially now that English players are more happy going abroad.
yeah,
It's a very dangerous situation to be in when you don't leave. Even Mikel himself, I'm not saying that he's leaving or anything like that, but imagine one day Barcelona come knocking strong. We all know that he's got a passion for them, and I expect to see him there at some point in his career. So you have to win quickly before it's too late.
okay. The question is: has Mikel Arteta peaked at Arsenal? And what is it? What is it now? Where does he go from here? And where do Arsenal go from here with Mikel Arteta?
I don't know. That's why I'm not the manager. Because if
That's
I'm
a
honest
safe
with you,
answer.
That's a safe
Think of the
answer.
safety.
100%
Think of the safety.
I gotta go work on Tuesday. Are you gonna pay when I don't go?
That's why I was going to even ask you with a disclaimer, because I know the bills need to be paid, and you still need the little, you know what I'm saying, the comfortable situation.
I need to be fed.
Yeah, stomach can't rumble.
Talking about that, yeah. So let's say, for example, you get onto someone like Declan Rice and you've got to shoot for him on Wednesday. Have they ever pulled you on what you've said online? For
Joe,
example?
ease up.
I don't really say a madness online though. I don't know if you've ever seen my content, but
Not madness, but
Not
even
really
like in a
critical
joke,
of them.
even like in a joke, it was.
nah, if I'm joking,
I've been pulled up on it on
I don't
certain
care.
people.
Like, if I'm joking and you can't take a joke, then that's your problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I really don't care.
Yeah.
Not in that way. I'm saying
But I'm not malicious. That's the thing. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I've had 1 or 2 players where you can see from a distance, or maybe agents, they watch my stuff and I might have jumped out a little bit, and you can tell that they've backed off a little bit. But the reality is, if then you can't take professional criticism, don't blame me. And I think this is why a lot of people get onto the Wayne and how he manages his brother
Yeah.
career. And I remember a great example, and I don't mind saying this because me and Dwayne are really cool, man. And he's actually been really positive over the years with us and stuff like that. And I remember last season or the season before, Rashford was seen out at concert or something like that.
Lord, is it Lord?
Probably
I
DB.
don't know.
DB.
I don't know if it was that one.
No, it doesn't matter.
I was saying it was somewhere.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, right, this is mad. And then Palace played United and Palace beat United at Selhurst Ground. Selhurst Park,
It
sorry.
was peak.
And then I remember we was talking about the game or whatever. And then at one point I asked one of the fans and I said, yo, man, this is a bit mad, Man United. What's happening here? You got Rashford that's being seen out. You got da-da-da-da. And Dwayne, sends that clip to someone. And then that person defended, man, and then sent it back to me. Then I said to Dwayne, like, what are you doing, bro? Like,
If you got words for me, have words for me.
Like, you know.
Yeah.
And credit to him. It wasn't like we were just because, like I said, we're cool. And then he said, no, you know what, my bad, you know. Like, I was just using this as an example to show that regardless of whether my brother plays well or not or doesn't play, there is a witch hunt for him. And I said, look, I'm not gonna lie and say that he hasn't been used as a scapegoat sometimes in life.
Facts.
I remember when he had bought a fleet of houses, people called him selfish. Why? Because he's invested his money in the right way. What do you want him to do? Squander it?
Yeah.
You know, like, so I get that. But then at the same time, I was also able to have an honest conversation with him and say, you got to remember that I'm part of media, new age media. So if I see something online and I think that's a bit mad, or I'm like, why are you doing that? I'm going to talk about it. I have to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I don't, as long as I'm not malicious about it, I'm not mocking him, I'm not disrespecting you lot's family or your family's name or whatever it is. Cool, you might feel personal about it and you may never want to work with man again or whatever. But the reality is, I also have a duty as well to a certain extent, to be honest. You know, I just think, for example, I can have games where I can say, nah, man, Declan Rice was poor and he's been poor for the last 3 games. Like, what? What do you? I think Odegaard's been poor in the last 3 games. Yeah. I think since Saka's gone, I don't think Odegaard's been the same. I think Kai Havertz has been missing too many chances that we should be converting. You know, I think Gabriel wasn't good before. Apologies, I didn't know I had an alarm on. 5:50.
You're busy, man. We understand.
Declan Rice, obviously, we know that's been going on for like a few years now. But
I think Declan Rice has been great. Like, especially if you look at the last game that we should not have lost the 2-0 win. Like, he was driving. Like, I can see, but sometimes it's not enough for one man.
Facts.
You need people with that same energy. If you've got a midfield with a Caicedo, Declan Rice, and someone else that puts in what, like, then if you don't play well, then you don't play well. But yeah, and I don't think the players are really picky like that. And to be fair to the club, I think as long as it's not malicious, you know, some men are like, I love Troops. Yeah. Troops is my boy.
He goes crazy.
But when he's like, F crunk, I'm like, yo, you sounded strong.
It's a bit ruthless, isn't it?
I mean, and he'll tell you, nah, but Joel, you gotta understand. And we're always having this back and forth. You know, he's my guy. You know, love him to bits. But I'm not like that.
If you could rewind time, what would be your dream Arsenal match that you would have loved to see live?
Ooh. Even though we lost, it would have been the Champions League final against Barcelona. Because that team was crazy. Like, on both sides.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, Arsenal was peak though.
Yeah, and I remember like looking at, maybe it's because I had the chance to speak to the great Sol Campbell today, and I just remember thinking, mate, we could have won it, you know.
You were sitting there looking at it thinking, you could have lifted the
that header was crazy though.
The header was crazy. Like, I remember at one point thinking, this could be it.
I think I cried.
It wasn't. But yeah. That's it, man.
So, sticking on Arsenal, what is, because you're not the manager, but you are a fan, innit? And we always have opinions as fans. What's the piece that you think they need? Is it a
striker, bro? Oh, Next question.
All right, cool. Follow-up question. What striker? Because
it's not even a striker.
What striker?
I think we could have been cute, and even if we had short stops, gaps, it would have been better than. You know, because I feel like there's too much pressure on Kai. Like, I'm not even mad at a Kai Havertz, because if we got him for like 65 mil, something like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone had told me that he would have given us what he's given us now, no problem. If we look at it as a whole picture, no one ever complains about his price tag. We complain about Anthony's price tag. Oh, yeah. You complain about, you know, so many other price tags. You don't complain about Erling Haaland price tag. You don't even know where he is. You just know that there was some sort of something that got triggered. You don't complain about what he gets per week. Like, people complain about Rashford's pay. People complain sometimes a little bit about Casemiro's play.
Yeah.
Usually, recently, you don't complain about a Mo Salah, or you don't even complain about Kai, because he wasn't even meant to come in and be a striker.
He was meant to be a centre mid, and he's managed to
make things work. It's not his fault. Like, he's doing what he can.
But you can't say it's not his fault,
Yes.
because there's some
No,
things.
because there's ability.
Yeah.
If you're there and you're missing those opportunities today and you're not playing the way you should, it probably isn't your fault. You could train every day and do everything you can, and sometimes there's just levels.
Maybe you're just not. I'm not gonna.
He's not a number. He's not Haaland.
But where did he play at Bayern?
Leverkusen is more of a 10, and then for Germany he plays in the false 9. He gets in front of
He played a few games.
Left back for Germany.
Yeah, he played left back.
I've seen him play. He's a good
send-out
footballer who can do a lot of jobs because of his skill set.
Yeah. But when it comes to a particular level of one chance, one goal,
it's not him.
He's not Batistuta.
It's not him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, you know.
This comes back to when I was saying that Rice money didn't get invested well.
I think that Rice money was good. I don't really complain, because I think if you look at it, every year we've bought a customary defender. Every year we've bought Marino. We've bought, like, what are you telling me? That with all the players that we've got out, it's not just about what we bought Rice for. We sold Eddie Nketiah. You know, we loaned out Reece Nelson.
Yeah.
We
sold
Emil Smith Rowe for another 30. You know, we bought Marino. That's 90 mil right there and then. What are we talking about?
That's his point. For me,
people are just talking, but when you actually really look at it, what are you talking about? We just haven't replaced those players.
This is what I was going to say.
You're allowed in the Premier League, and we got Neto and Raheem Sterling. Neto has not even played, so we can't even get a loan right about now. In the Prem, we have to go abroad.
What you said about replacing a player, do you know one player I think you guys should have replaced by now and has caused a big hole? Two. One, obviously, striker Aubameyang, and the second one, Granit Xhaka, because the progressive nature of your team is not the same without him.
Nah, it's not. His last year was incredible, wasn't it?
It's unbelievable. I personally, I've said it on the show multiple times, you guys should have got McAllister. I genuinely think McAllister would have been a piece that you guys, because he can play 6,
and
8,
he's a boot,
10,
and he's a booter,
and he shoots from. He's got so much. The midfielders, the boxes that are required to be a complete midfielder, he ticks so much of them, and he has the bottle to do it in big games. We saw it in the World Cup. So I think that's someone you guys missed out on. I know it's a hindsight thing.
There's so many people that you can say that about, though.
Of course,
say you should have scrapped the Declan Rice deal and just gone for Caicedo. You know,
yes,
you could say that. You could say what you've just said. You could say you shouldn't have bought Marino. You could say, you know, like I'm pretty sure. I'm looking at certain players. I'm looking at Nottingham Forest, and I'm going, where they get Anderson from? You know, like you can look at that and go,
the Anderson's a gem and a half, by the way,
from Newcastle.
Gem and a half, and that's something. Yeah.
Newcastle just letting go. Like, so you can look at that. Forest got a couple of those players, by the way.
Newcastle got Lewis Hall in it. Yeah.
You know, and Livramento, and then you look and you go, oh, so. You know, Isak, you want to talk about people that we should be getting, take that 90 mil and invest it. If it's not him, I would say Gyökeres. Now, when you see...
That's if they want to come to me.
You go, oh, yeah. Or even if you want to talk about loans, I think Osherman would, for 6 months, can't go wrong.
He wins you guys the title if he came in.
I do
said all day long.
Sentiment. Not the best overall footballer, but a good striker. Like, same with Haaland.
Chances, man.
Eats them up, taps it in, smashes it.
He wins Arsenal the league title this year, hands down. There's no argument.
And this is what I was asking about earlier, about intangible and tangible things. Why is it that when Arsenal were, I know obviously you've got the brand to protect, but when Arsenal were leading, when you had drop points against West Ham, Liverpool, Southampton, and then you lose to City, why was it that when you were the metaphorical gazelle in the title race that you got eaten? And why is it that when you are
experience?
Okay.
Like, when it doesn't matter what we do and everything that you do, even in this room setup, there's going to be certain things, positions where you get into like it's die-hard moments. The reality is you're going to need the producer to be able to like help make sure that things are pre-planned and things are done correctly, and that might not be. There's only so much Mikel can do. A lot of it, when I speak to the players and the pros, they say that the best teams, they govern their own changing room. And in order to govern your own changing room, yes, there has to be someone or people that you look up to. But if you're looking at top teams, let's just take, for example, you lot's team. You look at Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs, Gary Neville, right?
Yeah,
Even
peak.
before you sold a Phil Neville, and let's just say you had players coming through like a bit later, but let's just say the De Silva twins, Kieran Richardson, you know, Rio Ferdinand. You have all these players. They had all those other players to look to.
Yeah.
Not
It's
including
the
David
standard.
Beckham,
Yeah.
you know, or yes, Yap Stam had gone, but you've got players that you look up to.
Rooney.
And you go, Rooney, you know, even at that young age, these men got players that they can look to. You can look at Van Nistelrooy, Cristiano Ronaldo, you can look up. But when you look at our team, you've got Odegaard, who's played at a big club in Real Madrid.
He hasn't been.
You got Jorginho, who's done it, but he's not even a starter in the current club. So I'm not to say that he's not adding anything, because I've been around him and that guy has mega influence, like more than you ever know. Mega influence. But you need more.
Yeah.
You need your 5 or 6 players sometimes. That's why I think Liverpool, they're looking strong right about now, because you got these young players, but you've got Virgil van Dijk that's been a champion. Even Robinson, when he's not having a good game, Robertson, he's there. Trent's done it. You know, Salah's done it. You know, you got players that have won trophies. Tranquilo, bruv.
There's a few rapid questions I'm going to ask you. It can be anyone. So who's your favourite player to watch right now?
Or in the Prem?
It could be anywhere.
I think in general, I'm a big Lamine Yamal fan. You know, I think he is moving crazy.
He's dope. He's dope.
Like, he's moving. Like, I look at him and I just think, every time I look at him, I think, at 17, what was I doing? Like,
Follow up for that. Don't worry. Yeah, continue. Sorry.
he just, you know what I mean? There's like exciting players like him, I would say. I think Pedri as well, for me, like when you see him playing, like what he's doing with a ball, yeah, I think with the young players, he's not getting enough credit.
He doesn't.
At all.
Because we're living in goals and assists.
I was going to say, sorry to cut you off. You know how I feel about Pedri, to chime in. I've said it for years. He knows. For years, I've been saying Pedri is the best midfielder under the age of 25 in the world. And he does
doing,
everything.
yeah,
Yeah, he's peak.
It's kind of unfair, like, and it goes under the radar, because obviously Barca haven't always been in the best position recently, and yes, I know he's had injuries and everything, but over, like, if I'm to say who I watch week in, week out, I'm trying to think. Who's my favorite players? Oh, Cole Palmer.
Oh yeah. Only right.
Cole Palmer for me right about now. Like, I love Saka. Saka's my guy.
Wait, the guy that plays for Chelsea?
He's very direct. But in terms of magic, I like magic, innit?
Yeah.
Like, Cole Palmer reminds me of, like, he's not as good as Wayne Rooney, or I'll even say, I know Michael Owen was a striker, but at that age, I think Michael Owen was like world class.
Yeah, he was peak.
Yeah.
But Cole Palmer, besides me, and I also think Mason Greenwood, by the way, is the best thing to come out of the country, England, since Wayne Rooney. But I think Cole Palmer is probably, him and Jude Bellingham, I would say, are like, they're the closest to magic. And
Thank you.
Cole Palmer's about magic.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned Mason. Thank you.
Yeah.
And who do you reckon is the biggest personality in football media at the moment? It's a tough one, to be fair. It's very tough.
As in footballer or media personalities in general?
Personality in football media. So, like...
Oh, like, you mean commentators?
Himself? Oh, okay.
Like the Joels, the...
Okay.
That's a tough one. I think it's
crazy question.
Lost, isn't it? Like, it could be,
Okay, let's give one for when they lose and when they win.
I think when they lose, like, it's got to be
FTV,
DR Sports,
Saeed. Why
the
biryani? The biryani. Why are you eating biryani? We just conceded.
I think they're the go-to guys, and what's the other guy's name?
Expressions.
Oh, X is huge.
Box
Yeah,
office.
he's peak.
Him and Rancer's show. You got the Mark Goldbridges. There's a few. Rory Jennings.
Do you know? I thought I was gonna say. I like Adam McCullough as well. He's obviously all part of United Stand and all part of the same body of thing. I like his stuff as well. Oh, Cam's, we mentioned him before. Cam's Liaz.
Cam's Liaz, I think Liaz is a gem as well,
You know the way Liaz breaks down the game of football. Obviously,
he's brilliant.
I think he's got a cheat code though.
And I think Cam's as well and FCB, those guys like massive, like the stuff they're doing on DR Sports. They started on 360 as well, innit?
Yeah.
So those, and I say Cam and the guys, every single one of them involved.
Maiwa,
it's not just Maiwa, Fuad.
Yeah.
Those guys are brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, for real.
Who's the one footballer you wish you've interviewed but you haven't yet?
Jose Mourinho.
Not a football player, but yeah, yeah, that's the right. That's a right answer.
That's
a right answer. Jose, yeah. I always talk about Jose in the show because I think personally Jose could be the next Arsenal manager and get them to somewhere, but that's another topic.
Not anymore.
Nah, he kissed
the relationships to
yeah. Oh yeah, fair. As because of what he said about,
and he's recently come back and last year he said something about us not winning. He was right about us not winning the league, but he said it on Mikel's podcast.
Oh yeah.
He said something basically that we weren't going to win, and yeah,
it's a bit sour. But yeah, I can imagine a Jose interview just being legendary because that man, love him.
Just been in the same room as him. It's just
I'm even gonna go to like in terms of personalities in football in general, as in players and managers. Who is the biggest and your personal favorite as well?
Maddest one. It's always the eccentric ones.
Yeah, it has to be
Kevin Prince Boateng.
Ooh.
Like,
yeah, that interview was cold.
Yeah.
Very, very cold.
He's such a good guy, but he is still mad. Like, I can't explain it. Like, one day he's there, and then the next you just can't find him.
Wait, what?
Like,
Wait.
He to me is what he probably was as a footballer. What he was as a footballer. And he's one of those people where, because it's just the way he is, I'm not even mad at him. Like, one day you could be talking to him and you're genuinely talking about some stuff. And then next thing you know, my man's just gone missing. You're like, bro, where you been? Oh, sorry, man. I was just been in Australia. Like,
Because he can.
Mate.
Yeah, he's lit.
He is like, he lives as if he's still playing in the Prem now. He just does what he wants. Madness.
I got 2 questions for you. You got any more rapid fire questions for him?
No, that's all for now.
I've
Before
got 2 questions for you. Bit of motivation for the people. Personally, I see you under so many creators' comments and following them and liking them. I've seen you work with Kofi. You like some of my stuff. You like BG stuff. You work with Cams. You with everybody who's from here with 3K followers, or not even a K followers, to 100K or million on TikTok or whatever platform. How important do you think it is to stay in touch with the grassroots and people who are coming up, regardless of how big you get?
I think it's silly when people just do numbers games all the time, because I look at, for example, Emerson, where I've had clips that he's shared with me and with the other guys that have helped make something a success, regardless of whether they're not the outlet or your outlet is not the normal traditional outlet that people would go to. But I think when you work together with certain people, like, I think there's no harm in it. I think you have to be very careful, because I'll give you 2 examples. So as a content creator, I think you always have to look at what's next in the future. You have to like and appreciate, because I never really always got that. I got it sometimes, but I just always remember thinking I would have loved. They don't have to come and start sharing up all your stuff, and you don't have to mither them for that. But sometimes just, oh, this person came through, or this person did this, like just the things that are enough. Do you know what I mean? Like they didn't need to do too much from you. Don't, like, just enough. You know what I mean? Organic stuff. That's what I'm really about. And when I look at, for example, someone like I mention him a lot. He's sent a couple guys to do some internships for us, and we've got like a good relation off. I don't even remember the last time we did something creatively, but like, it's just an organic relationship where those kind of things are very important. And you see really talented people, you shouldn't be shy to say, I like your stuff, because I do. Man, I'm not gonna wait till you've got 100K followers to then tell you I like your stuff. That's ridiculous.
Yes.
You know, like, and I think people who do that, they always show themselves really, innit?
100%.
You don't have to like everyone's stuff, but I'm like a positive person. So when you see me in people's comments, it's not because I'm just there breading it high. It's just like I'm a fan of this particular piece of content or what you do, and I'm enjoying it. And there's no reason why I shouldn't enjoy it. You lot can be cool over there. That's fine. I'm making my money anyway. So I'm not.
Definitely making the money.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't have to. Whether I did or I didn't, like, I just don't see. You shouldn't feel threatened to say that someone's good. And I feel like sometimes with where we come from, I don't want to necessarily say black people. I say sometimes a lot of us come from like deprived areas, and what we know is to protect. And the reality is, yes, protect some things. I'm not saying you have to be a fool, but then at the same time, you know, you look at other communities and they teach you that moving together is more beneficial, and you're able to create things and keep things and invest in things. And that's kind of like the approach I take. And then on the way, you get lucky and you find people who have the same mindset. And when you do, like you stick with them.
Off the back of that question, you are someone who just looks extremely motivated. I know it's not even a level of motivation. It's now just become discipline.
Yeah.
But what, apart from your own drive and discipline, what in your personal life makes you wake up with that hunger in your belly? Is it the fact that you're a father? Is it the fact that you just need to get it, and because you have the people in front of you, like you said before with Rio, knowing that you can always do better? What is it?
I think God has always shown that he's got more for me. And most times I don't even know what it is. But
Facts.
I just know that there's levels. Sometimes I'm just working and yeah, I can write things down, I can plan, but I'm not the author of my book, man. Like he is. And, you know, is it because I'm a father? No. I don't need my child to motivate me. You know, shout out to people who do, and then they say, yeah, I wake up and my child helps me to get it. Good for you. But whether I had a child or not, man's still going hard.
Just being real, innit?
You know,
Yeah.
like, you know, some people, it's like that hood story, innit? It's like, yeah, you know, my child, bro. My child does not motivate me, bro.
I was always going to get it
If
regardless.
anything, sometimes my child hinders me because sometimes I'm like, I've got to go. She's like, Daddy, I want you to stay. But then I have to, you know, you have to, there's an emotional attachment.
She's trying to
And when
melt
I
your
say
heart.
hinder, I don't mean like she messes up my life, but it's a little bit difficult, if anything, because I want to work so much. Sometimes I have to be cute and switch it around a little bit or pick certain days, or do you know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, when we go on our holidays, or I'm teaching her gems in life, or my niece the other day, she loves watching football, she's 12 years old, and she said something, and I said, yeah, when you're ready to do your work experience, let me know, I'll send you to this person. And she's like, for real? I'm like, yeah. That's not, for me, that's the motivation, not my kids, but to open the doors and to just, like you said, get it.
No, I love that.
Oh yeah, I've got a few things obviously to ask you just before we wrap up shortly. Just regarding your advice, there's a 20-year-old kid that wants to get into the media world. What advice would you give him?
Create your own path as much as possible, because people think that because you've done a show with them, or because you know you're accessible, or because you've done this, that people owe you something. People don't owe you nothing. The reality is, even when I was talking with other content creators, or whether it be with Rio, you actually have to have some sort of track record and something to offer as well. Because someone can do you a favor maybe once, maybe if you're lucky, maybe once in life. But the reality is, everyone's in this sport, you know, to compete.
Yeah.
And you have to have something to offer. And a lot of people just think there's this, nah, bro. Like, so build your own value, you know. And that's why I'm meticulous in certain things how I do, because the name of the game is to show value. And that's what it is. The reason why you have me here is only because you see some sort of value. It's not because we grew up in the same areas, because we didn't.
Facts.
So
Very
build your
true.
own value.
That was brilliant.
That's the best way to end the show.
So, just a final word. Well, first of all, before you give your final word, I just want to say a big thank you, because you're a very busy man. If you look at your Instagram feed right now, trust me, things are going, and we know this. And you took your time out of your day to day to come share gems, tell us about your journey, tell us about yourself, and you laughed at us a little bit as Man United fans,
He didn't offer us.
but he laughed at you there, definitely. But yeah, and I just appreciate the fact that you're here and you're giving us this beautiful content, and just the conversation in general was just very enlightening. But if you could leave one mark on the football media world, what would it be? What would it be that says, this is what Joel Beya done?
You know what? I feel like there's still a lot for me to do. So I can't sit here and go, oh, I thought about I don't think, believe it or not, I don't think I've given my all yet. As hard as I've worked over the years, I feel like there's been times where I've worked very hard, but I feel like I haven't given my all yet. And I feel like 2025, I have to get to the stage where I can say, you know what, I've actually given my all. You know, and that's all I want to be known for, someone who is giving their all. I've given a lot, but not my all yet.
And that's how we close the show. I saw Joel last year in 2024, and I said to him, we'll work soon, and it's coming to fruition because of the Magic Man M and Joel himself. And I've been DB. Across from me is Don P, and the man of the moment himself who's joined us today, Joel Beya. Thank you very much. BV Sports Show out.